There is a painful truth about life that you may not know. Most people do not fail because they are incapable. They fail because they spend too many years without ever truly deciding what they want. They wake up every morning, go to work, feel exhausted, delay their dreams, and call that a normal life. Until one day, they look back and realize they spent almost their entire life living for survival instead of for what they truly wanted. And the scariest part is, many people no longer dare to want more, not because they lack ability, but because life has worn them down. A few failures, a few rejections, a few times trying without seeing results make them start shrinking their dreams. They no longer ask, how do I create the life I want? They only pray, just don't let it get any worse. Today, I want to tell you something. Life can change very quickly when you learn the art that most people never truly understand, the art of ASK. Because there are things that if you had understood earlier, maybe you would not have spent so many years living in confusion, exhaustion, and the feeling that you were lost from your own life. And at the end of this video, I will share with you something many people realize too late. Success does not begin when opportunity appears. It begins on the day you stop making yourself small. There is something I realized after many years of observing people. Most people do not live a small life because they lack potential. They live small because gradually they forget what they once wanted. Life has a very strange way of doing that to people. It does not destroy you immediately. It quietly makes you more tired little by little. A bill that needs to be paid, a failure, a rejection, a morning when you wake up with no motivation left inside. Then a few more years pass, and the thing that once made your heart burn with passion suddenly becomes something you no longer dare to think about. I have met men who worked more than 10 hours a day, but their eyes were empty. I have met women who spent their entire youth sacrificing for others to the point that they forgot what dreams they once had for themselves. And the most painful thing is, they are not truly living. They are only trying to survive each day. You know, there is a huge difference between two kinds of people. One person wakes up every morning and asks, how do I survive today? The other wakes up and asks, what do I want my life to become? Those two questions create two completely different destinies. But sadly, most people were never taught how to ask life for what they truly want. From childhood, we are taught to be realistic. Don't dream too big. Don't expect too much. Don't get disappointed. And then over time, many people begin negotiating with their own lives. At first, they wanted an amazing life. After a few failures, they only wanted stability. After a few more heartbreaks, they only wanted peace. And eventually they only prayed, just don't let it get any worse. That is how dreams die. Not with a loud explosion, but with a very quiet surrender. I remember meeting a man in his 50s once. He told me, Jim, I've worked for nearly 30 years, but I don't think I ever truly chose this life. That sentence haunted me for a very long time. Because out there are millions of people living exactly like that. They go to work every day, but their heart is no longer in it. They smile, but inside they are exhausted. They keep moving forward only because they do not know where to begin again. And then one day, you look at yourself in the mirror and ask, is this really the life I want? I think that is the most important moment in a person's life. Not when you make a lot of money, not when you become successful, not when other people recognize you, but the moment you are honest enough to admit, I am living smaller than the person I could become. That is when life truly begins to change. Because every major transformation starts with a question. It sounds simple, but very few people dare to do it. They are afraid to ask, afraid to want more, afraid to hope one more time. Because hope also means the possibility of disappointment. So many people choose the safer way. They pretend they no longer desire anything great. But I will tell you the truth. People do not suffer the most when they fail. People suffer the most when they abandon the better version of themselves. As long as you still have ambition, you are still alive. As long as you still want to change, you still have a chance. The most dangerous thing is not being poor, not failure, not rejection. The most dangerous thing is reaching a day when you no longer believe your life can become different. And that is why today, I want to talk to you about something extremely simple. So simple that most people ignore it. But that very thing has changed the direction of countless lives. The art of ask? Ask. Ask life for what you want. Ask yourself who you want to become. Ask whether you are living too small. Because sometimes the thing that keeps people trapped for years is not a lack of ability. It is that they never truly allowed themselves to want more. Do you know the strangest thing about human beings? Most people say they want a better life, but very few people are truly willing to sit down and clearly state what they want. They say, I just want things to be okay. I don't need much. I'm fine living like this. But many years of working with people have made me understand one thing. Most of those statements are not contentment. They are exhaustion. Because there comes a point when life wears you down so badly that you begin shrinking your own dreams just to avoid more disappointment. A person who once wanted to build a great career after a few failures only hopes to keep their job. A person who once wanted to live freely after too much pressure only hopes to pay the bills at the end of the month. A person who once believed they could do something extraordinary after years of being looked down on starts convincing themselves, maybe I'm just ordinary. And that is what life does to many people. It does not take away their talent. It takes away their belief that they deserve something better. I have seen very hardworking people living as if their life ended a long time ago. They go to work, eat dinner, sleep, repeat, day after day. No excitement left. No anticipation left. No feeling that the future is calling them forward. And do you know the saddest part? A lot of people think that is maturity. No. That is surrender happening so slowly that even you do not notice it. I remember when I was younger, I also thought hard work alone was enough. Work harder, push harder, persist more. But then I realized there are many hardworking people out there still trapped in lives they do not want to live. And the problem is not effort. The problem is they never truly defined what they wanted. It sounds simple, but try asking someone, what exactly do you want your life to become? Most people cannot answer. They can tell you what they do not want. They do not want to be poor. They do not want pressure. They do not want failure. But they do not truly know who they want to become, how they want to live, where they want to go, and you cannot move toward a place that you have never seen in your mind. That is why I always say, learn how to ask. Not ask weakly, not like, it would be nice if possible. No, ask life clearly. What do you want? Who do you want to become? What kind of life do you want to live before you leave this world? Because when you begin to ask, something inside you changes. Your mind starts waking up. You begin seeing the world differently. Opportunities you never noticed before suddenly appear everywhere. Not because the world changed, but because finally you started looking in a clear direction. Just like when someone buys a new car, suddenly they see that car everywhere on the road. Not because the car suddenly appeared. It was always there. It is just that now their mind has been programmed to notice it. Life works the same way. When you truly know what you want, everything starts shifting. The way you think changes. The way you walk changes. The way you use your time changes. Even the way you endure hardship changes. Because suffering feels different when you know where you are going. People can survive a very long winter if they know spring is waiting ahead. But what causes many people to collapse is not because life is too hard. It is because they live too long without seeing meaning in the road they are walking. And that is why one of the most dangerous things in the world is living without desire anymore. No longer expecting something greater. No longer believing you can change. No longer believing your life can become more beautiful than it is now. Because when a person loses that, they still exist. But inside, they have already begun dying slowly. So today, I want you to do something very simple. Not change your whole life immediately. Just be honest with yourself. If you were not afraid of failure, if you were not afraid of being laughed at, if you were not afraid of starting over, what would you truly want? Because sometimes that question is exactly where a new life begins. I once said something like this, life is like the ocean, and most people are standing in front of that ocean, holding a very small spoon. When I was young, I thought the problem people had was a lack of opportunity. But the longer I live, the more I realize opportunity is not rare. What is rare are people who are big enough inside to receive it. Look closely. Some people walk into a room and immediately feel, I don't belong here. Some people see opportunity, but automatically think, that's for other people. Some people want to build something great, but the moment they begin, they immediately make themselves smaller. Not because they are incapable, but because for many years, they have become used to living with a spoon that is too small. A spoon created from fear, insecurity, old failures, a small environment, words that made them doubt themselves. And the scary thing is, if you live too long in a small environment, you will begin believing. Life itself is only that small. I have met people with enormous talent, but every time they talked about their dreams, they laughed as if apologizing for them. They say, "I just thought about it. I probably can't do it. I'm not like successful people." Do you see? Many people do not even dare to say out loud what they want. They are afraid of judgment, afraid of being laughed at, afraid of hoping too much and then being disappointed. So they choose the safer way. Want less, dream less, live smaller. But listen to me carefully. Life does not reward people who shrink themselves. Life responds to the standards you accept for yourself. If you believe you only deserve an ordinary life, you will unconsciously make ordinary choices. You will. Stay in environments that drain you, accept relationships that make you smaller, delay your own potential, and call it reality. No, that is not reality. That is a version of yourself that has forgotten who you could become. I remember a man once told me, "Jim, I think I was born to be ordinary." But when he said that, his eyes were not peaceful at all. Because deep inside, he knew he was lying to himself. Human beings can endure hardship, can endure poverty, can endure failure. But it is very difficult to live peacefully when deep inside you know you are betraying your own potential. That is why many people with stable jobs still feel empty. Because money is not the only thing that nourishes human beings. People also need the feeling that they are moving closer to a better version of themselves. Otherwise, every day begins to look the same. You wake up, go to work, come home, and the years pass by frighteningly fast. Then one day, you watch other people living the life you once dreamed about and ask yourself, why did I never dare to try? Let me tell you something. Many people think success begins with skill. No, success begins with allowing yourself to think bigger. Everything great in life starts with a very small moment inside the mind. The moment you say, maybe I can too. That is when the spoon begins getting bigger. That is when you start asking differently. No longer. Hopefully things don't get worse. But how far could my life go if I truly became serious about myself? You see, when the question changes, the direction of your life changes too. People who live small always ask, how do I stay safe? People who begin growing ask, how do I become a better version of myself? That is the question that changed my life. Not, how do I make money faster? But, what kind of person do I need to become to deserve a bigger life? Because in the end, success is not something you chase. It is something attracted by the person you become. And maybe, the thing that has kept you stuck for all these years is not a lack of opportunity, but that you are still walking into the ocean of life with a spoon that is far too small. But then I realized something. Knowing what you want still is not enough to change your life, because there is a huge gap between what you want and what you are willing to do to achieve it. A lot of people love the idea of success. They love imagining financial freedom, a better life, being respected, living up to their true potential. But when life asks them to pay the price, they stop. And that is where everything begins separating. I have seen two kinds of people. One person has brilliant ideas, but only acts when they feel inspired. The other person is not always confident, not always motivated, but they still continue doing what needs to be done. In the end, the second person almost always wins, because life does not reward temporary emotions. Life responds to repetition. Do you know why so many people never change? It is not because they lack knowledge. They simply have not taken action strongly enough, long enough, and consistently enough for life to be forced to respond to them. That is why I've always believed in what I call massive action. Massive action. Not doing something once and stopping. Not trying for a few days and quitting. But the kind of action that makes life unable to ignore you anymore. If you are going to make calls, make a lot of calls. If you are going to study, study thoroughly. If you are going to change your life, stop walking halfway. Because one of the most dangerous things is living with a half-hearted attitude. Half trying, half believing, half committed. People like that often spend their entire lives full of regret. I remember a period of time when I met a young salesman. He was not exceptionally talented, not an amazing speaker, did not have striking looks, and was not the kind of person who attracted attention everywhere he went. But there was one thing about him that I never forgot. His persistence. Every day, he knocked on one door after another, rejected, ignored, looked down on. Some days he walked for hours in the cold and still sold nothing. But the next day, he came back again. Not because he was always confident, but because he understood one thing. If I quit, my life will not magically become better. And that is when I understood massive action is not about physical strength. It is a battle with your own mind. It is those mornings when you wake up with no emotion left at all, but you keep going anyway. It is those days when nobody believes in you, but you still continue. It is those days when life stays silent, giving you no signs at all, but you still plant seeds. That is the hard part. Anyone can act when they feel excited, but very few people continue when everything starts slowing down. And remember this, life often tests people through silence. You try, but see no results yet. You change, but see no reward yet. You plant seeds, but the soil has not bloomed yet. That is when most people quit, too early. They dig up the seed every week to check whether it has grown yet. But life does not work that way. There are seasons when you must learn how to work in the dark without seeing the light immediately. That is why successful people are usually not different because of talent. They are different because of their ability to continue. Continue longer than doubt. Continue longer than fear. Continue longer than the emotion of wanting to quit. You know, there is a quote I really love. Don't wish for an easier life. Wish for a stronger self. Because the truth is, life will always become difficult at some point. There will always be pressure, competition, disappointment, days when nobody understands you. But the problem has never been, how difficult is life? The problem is, who have you become in the face of those difficulties? Some people only need one failure to shrink their entire life. But there are also people who, after every fall, become stronger. That is a choice. And sometimes, the thing that changes the entire direction of your life is not a huge opportunity. But the moment you decide, I will not live half-heartedly anymore. Because in the end, dreams alone never change anyone's life. Action does. But before a person truly reaches what they want, they almost always must go through some kind of winter. And if you have lived long enough, you will understand what I mean. The winter of life is not always snow falling outside your window. Sometimes, winter is a morning when you wake up and no longer feel excited about anything. Sometimes, winter is when the money in your pocket keeps running out, while the bills continue arriving as if life does not care how exhausted you are. Sometimes, winter is when the person you trusted walks away, when the job you tried to hold on to suddenly collapses, when the plans you spent years building fall apart in a matter of days. And sometimes, winter is not loud. It is simply a heavy silence inside you. You still talk, still work, still smile when needed. But deep inside, you know something has gone cold. I have met people living through winters like that. From the outside, they still seemed okay. But when you sit with them long enough, when they no longer have to play the role of being strong, they speak in a very quiet voice. I don't know if I can start over anymore. And I understand that feeling. Because nobody goes through life without at some point feeling like they are standing in the middle of a cold field, not knowing which direction leads home. But this is what I want you to remember. Winter does not arrive to ask whether you are ready. It comes because it is part of life. Just like night comes after day. Just like January comes after autumn. Just like hardship comes after opportunity. You cannot tear January out of the calendar and hope the cold season disappears. And you cannot beg life to stop giving you challenges while expecting yourself to grow. No, winter will come. The question is not, how do I never face winter? The question is, when winter comes, who will I become? That is the question that changes a person's entire life. Because winter has a very strange power. It does not only take away your comfort, it reveals you. It reveals your true beliefs, your true discipline, your true patience, your true courage. Spring makes people joyful, but winter makes people mature. There are people who, after winter, become deeper. They learn to appreciate an ordinary meal, a kind conversation, a day when they still have the health to begin again. But there are also people who, after winter, become bitter. They let one difficult season become their entire personality. They get hurt once, and then live as if the whole world owes them something. And that is when winter is no longer weather. It becomes a prison. You see, what happens to you is one part of the story, but how you respond is the part that writes who you become. Some people lose money, then learn how to manage better. Some people lose opportunities, then learn how to prepare more carefully. Some people get rejected, then learn how to become stronger. But there are also people who use one failure to justify 10 years of never daring to try again. That is the difference. Not between lucky people and unlucky people, but between people who learn from winter and people who let winter freeze their entire life. I know, when you are in winter, every piece of advice sounds easy. People on the outside will say, "Stay strong, everything will work out, don't overthink it." But the person living through it knows there are very long nights. There are mornings when you have to drag yourself out of bed. There are days when you do everything right and the results still do not come. And there are moments when you ask yourself, what am I even fighting for? If you are there right now, I do not want to tell you that winter does not hurt. It hurts. But I want to tell you this, do not waste your winter. If life forces you to walk through the cold, let it teach you what spring never could. Let it teach you patience, teach you humility, teach you who truly stands beside you, teach you what really matters, teach you how to become stronger without losing your heart. Because the most dangerous person is not the one who has never fallen, but the person who has fallen before, has suffered before, has lost a great deal, yet still stands up with a heart that still knows how to hope. And when a person like that begins asking life again, not with naivety anymore, but with maturity, that is when everything starts changing. Because after winter, if you do not quit, spring always finds its way back. The most beautiful thing about life is that winter does not last forever. I know, there are moments when you are in hardship, and that sounds more like encouragement than truth. But if you live long enough, you will realize life moves in seasons. After the longest days, the sky still brightens. After the heaviest rain, the earth still blooms again. And after seasons that feel like everything has ended, opportunities still find their way back to people. It is just that not everyone recognizes them. You see, spring usually does not arrive like a huge explosion. It does not knock on your door and shout, "Here is the opportunity to change your life." No, spring arrives very gently. Sometimes it is only a small idea appearing in your mind, a book you happen to read, a meeting, advice that comes at the right time, an opportunity you would not have dared to try before, or simply a morning when you wake up and feel, maybe it is not too late for me. That is how spring begins, quietly, gently, but full of life. The problem is, many people stay in winter so long that when spring appears, they no longer have enough belief to step forward. They have become used to disappointment, used to things not working out, used to waiting for something bad to happen. So when opportunity comes, instead of stepping forward, they step back. They think, that kind of good thing probably is not for me. I will probably fail anyway. Don't hope too much. You see, life sometimes opens doors for people, but fear makes them lock themselves inside. I have seen that in many people with great potential. They stand very close to a better life, but turn away simply because they do not believe they deserve it. And that is why, after winter, the most important thing is not opportunity. It is the ability to believe again. Believe that you can still change. Believe that the future is not over. Believe that the difficult years are not the entire story of your life. Because if you lose that, then even when spring arrives, you no longer have the strength to plant seeds again. I remember a season in my life when almost everything was going in the wrong direction. Plans failed. Money was difficult. Many doors closed. And the most dangerous thing at that time was not the circumstances. It was that I started thinking smaller. That is what winter always tries to do to people. It makes you doubt your value, your ability, your future. But then I realized something. Life does not change just because you wait. Spring does not automatically turn the field into harvest season. You have to plant seeds again. You have to keep moving again. You have to believe again, even if only a little. That is what many people do not understand. They want a better life, but they do not want to plant again, because planting always comes with risk. You may fail. You may be rejected. You may lose more time. But think about it. If you never plant anything again, then how could autumn bring you anything? That is the law of life. Nobody harvests where they never planted. And sometimes, the thing that changes your entire life is not one massive action, but one small decision repeated every day, one extra hour of study, one more book, one phone call you were once afraid to make, one morning you decide to wake up earlier, one day you stop delaying your life. It sounds small, but life always changes from small things like that, just like a seed. When you look at it, nobody believes an entire forest could exist inside it. But time, care, and persistence will turn that tiny thing into something more powerful than you imagined. Human beings are the same. Do not underestimate the small changes you are trying to make today. Because if you continue, one day you will look back and no longer recognize your old self. And this is what I want you to remember very carefully. Spring does not last forever. Opportunity does not either. There are doors that if you do not walk through them while they are open, one day they will close. There are years in your life that if you are not brave enough to change, you will lose a great deal of time trying to return to where you could have arrived much sooner. So if right now, life is giving you a small opportunity, do not underestimate it. Do not wait until you are perfect before you begin. Do not wait until fear disappears before you move. Because many successful people did not start when they were ready. They started when they decided they no longer wanted to live stuck anymore. And sometimes, one small decision during spring can change the entire rest of your life. But then life will teach you something else. It is not enough just to start well. You also have to learn how to protect what you started. Because every garden will have weeds trying to grow into it. Every dream will be tested. Every beautiful thing will have something in life trying to take it away. That is the law. When you begin changing, there will be people who no longer understand you. When you begin taking your life seriously, there will be people uncomfortable with that. Not because they hate you, but because your transformation accidentally reminds them of the things they gave up in their own lives. You see, not everyone around you wants to see you grow. Some people only like the smaller version of you. The version that is easy to control, easy to agree with, does not make them feel left behind. So when you begin changing, they will say, "You've changed. You're thinking too big. Don't take everything so seriously." And if you are not aware enough, you will return to your old life, just to feel like you belong somewhere. That is the price many people pay for acceptance. They trade away their potential to keep familiarity. But remember this, you cannot build a great life inside an environment that constantly makes you smaller. That is almost impossible. I have met people with incredible talent, but they live surrounded by negativity, laziness, conversations full of complaints, people who constantly mock every big dream, and over time, they began shrinking. That is what environment does to people. It does not change you immediately. It changes your standards little by little. At first, mediocrity bothers you. After some time, you begin accepting it. And eventually, you become it. That is why you must learn how to protect the garden of your life. Protect your mind, your time, your energy, your focus, and even the very young dreams still growing inside you. Because not everyone is gentle enough to touch another person's dream. Some people enter your life and plant doubt. They make you feel not good enough, not smart enough, like you should not even try. And if you listen to them long enough, their voice will become the voice inside your own head. That is why I have always believed one of the most important decisions in life is deciding who you spend most of your time with. Because human beings are like soil. If you stay too long in a toxic environment, even good seeds struggle to grow. Have you noticed? Some people walk into a room and bring light with them. They make you want to try harder, want to think bigger, want to live more kindly. But there are also people who, after spending too much time around them, make you start feeling drained. Everything is negative. Every opportunity gets mocked. Every hope is treated like foolishness. And the dangerous thing is, negativity is contagious. If every day you hear, "That's impossible. That's just how life is. Don't dream too big. Nobody succeeds like that." Then over time, a part of you will start believing it. So sometimes, growing up is not only about learning new things, it is about learning how to protect your mind from things that pull you down. I know that is not easy. Sometimes the people who hurt you the most are the people closest to you. Family, friends, people who have been beside you for a long time. But understand this, not everyone who does not understand your path is a bad person. Some people simply have never seen what you see. So do not hate them. But also do not let them decide the limits of your life. Because if you let people who live without hope teach you how to live, then very soon, you too will forget what it feels like to dream big. And that is when the garden inside you begins dying. Not because it lacks potential, but because it is no longer being cared for. So be careful about what you allow into your mind. The books you read, the conversations you listen to, the people you stay around, the thoughts you repeat every day. Because in the end, every life becomes the result of what it has been fed over time. And if you truly want a bigger life, you must learn how to protect that seed, even when nobody else can see it yet. And then, after everything, after the winters, the failures, the days of doubting yourself, the moments when you had to start over from the beginning, I realized something. The thing that changes a person's life is not just money, not fame, not status, not how successful other people think you are, but who you become during the journey. When they are young, many people think success is something to chase. They chase money, chase opportunities, chase recognition, chase the feeling of being valuable enough. But the longer I live, the more I understand, success is like a guest. It is always searching for a place worthy enough to stay. And if you want to keep it for the long term, you must become the kind of person capable of holding it. That is why some people make money, then lose everything. Some people get opportunities, but cannot keep them. Some people achieve success very quickly, but still feel empty inside, because life does not only ask, "What do you want?" It also asks, "Who have you become to deserve it?" That is a far more important question. I have met people who were very wealthy but not at peace. They had beautiful houses, beautiful cars, were known by many people, but when sitting alone, they no longer liked who they had become. And I have also met people who were not truly wealthy yet, but their eyes were full of life. They were more mature, more calm, kinder, more disciplined. You could feel in them a very quiet kind of strength. That is the kind of strength that does not come from money. It comes from the fact that they have won many battles within themselves. And I think that is real success, because in the end, life is not only about what you have, it is about how you live, how you treat other people, whether you keep your character during difficult times, whether you still have hope after failures. Those are the things that truly define a human being. I know there are many people out there who are tired from pressure, tired from money problems, tired from feeling like they are trying so hard, yet life still has not changed. And if you are in that season right now, I want you to remember something. Do not judge your life only by where you stand today. A tree does not mature overnight. One planting season also does not instantly create harvest season. There are changes happening inside you that right now you still cannot see. Every time you become a little more disciplined, you are changing. Every time you rise again after failure, you are changing. Every time you continue, even when nobody sees it, you are changing. And one day, everything will connect together. You will look back at your old self and barely recognize it anymore. Not because life suddenly became easier, but because you became much stronger. You matured through the winters. You learned how to plant seeds during spring. You learned how to protect your garden. You learned how to act even while afraid. And most importantly, you no longer make yourself small anymore. That is what I hope you carry with you after this video. Not just motivation. Motivation comes and goes. I hope you carry a decision with you. The decision to stop living like someone waiting for life to give them permission to be happy. The decision to stop shrinking your dreams to fit your fears. The decision to become the kind of person you yourself can respect when looking in the mirror. Because trust me, life changes very quickly when people begin changing themselves. And one day, you will understand what I am about to say more deeply than ever before. Success is not something you chase. It is something you attract through the person you become. So if today you still have a dream inside your heart, still have a part of you that wants to live more powerfully, wants to go farther, wants to become a better version of yourself, do not extinguish it. Do not let life make your heart smaller. Because this world desperately needs people who still dare to hope. If this video touched you, please hit like and subscribe to Jim Rohn Treasures so we can continue this journey together. And I want to ask you one thing before we end. Right now, what season of life are you in?